All right. Hey, good evening, Facebook Live and fans out there. Mike Phillips here this evening. I'm trying a new method here with my new tablet. So figured I'd give Facebook Live a shot on the tablet. So a little different orientation, a little different setup. And I'm just going to check it here on my phone, make sure that I actually show up the way that it should. And it's, there we go. Hey. All right. So, anyway, for those of you tuning into my Facebook Live this evening or tuning in to Mike Phillips to listen in, as I've said, I've got a few really, in my opinion, really good topics to talk about over the next 16, 17 days. Today I'm on day 14 of the Facebook Live Challenge. Do it every day for 30 days. And today's topic is performance beats product. And the reason that I picked this, I have a good friend, or I would consider a good friend, good online friend. We met here this past year, Mr. Lee Williams, the network king. Shout out to you, sir, who had brought up the other night, and he was going on about customer service. He went to 6 different retail places to look at purchasing products. And because of the sort of service that he received, he continued to go to the next place. Obviously, if he had gotten the service that he wanted, if he'd gotten the product that he wanted and the service and everything associated with that, he probably would have gone to 1 or 2 places. 1 or 2. Got to get used to where this camera's at. So he would have gone to 1 or 2 places, but instead, I was listening to him the other evening, and he says, yeah, I ended up going to 6 different places to try and purchase a product because I couldn't get helped. And so it's one of those things. I talked about this years ago, back in 2010, 2011, in one of my radio shows. And I thought, well, I'll dust the notes off that and maybe update it and talk about it because it's something that I think is very, very relevant right now. And that is that performance beats product every time. And what I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about, I'm not saying you can't have a good product. You have to have a quality product. But all same for same, if I got this product and I got this product, and they're really pretty much the same thing, whether it comes to new cars, used cars. Again, I'm in automotive, so when I'm talking about this, I'm basing it on my experience in automotive. If you're looking at 2 similar vehicles, what's going to be the difference in those vehicles? It's the performance of the salesperson. It's the performance of the dealership. Right? Because the product is going to be very similar. So don't mistake what I'm saying. When I'm saying that, it's a bold statement. It's not, oh, well, you can have, I'm not, here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying you can have a crummy product and try and overcome that by telling people stuff or trying to have a really good performance and thinking that that's going to overcome everything, because that's not the case. I'm not saying to baffle people with BS or a bunch of smoke and mirrors. Again, the reason that I was inspired to talk about this, thanks Nancy for tuning in and joining me tonight. One of the things, because I have this kind of new mount on my tablet, I don't know if I'll be able to see comments and stuff coming up as I'm talking about this, but please, by all means, if you have questions, you have comments, you have opinions you want to share, now bear in mind, it's my video, so my opinion's the right one. No, I'm just kidding. If you have opinions and other things that you want to share, right down below here is where you want to go ahead and type stuff in, and make sure and be a participant, because that is something that's often fun. And then probably in the next day or two, I'm going to figure out how there's a little button right down there that says you can add somebody into it. I don't think I'm going to try it tonight since I already have new equipment. So anyway, this chat's inspired by Lee Williams, who he said, look, customer service, for goodness sake, it's like a lost art, right? Customer service, he went to 1 or 2 places that you'd be okay to go 1 or 2 places and find the right product and find a good person to do business with. Most people would not be okay going to 6. So I'm going to see what some of the comments. So that's the same at work. What's the same at work? The opinion or the video? Lily, that hop, skip, jig you just did looked like the Atlanta I know how to icky shuffle. I can icky shuffle. You won't be able to see it because it's down here. It's all in the feet, man. It's all in the feet. So anyway, like I said, since Lily didn't get any really good service, and thanks for tuning in and participating this evening, Lily. I sure appreciate you. One of the things you want to consider when it comes to customer service, and this is my opinion, no service is probably worse than bad service. Just think about that for a second. When you've gone into a retail place, if you're going to shop for a suit or a dress or a new set of knives, right? Or heaven forbid, you're going to shop for a house or a realtor a house. Yeah, you're shopping for a realtor, or you're shopping for a car or an automotive salesperson. Heaven forbid you're shopping for one of those bigger ticket items. That's one of the things. If you receive no service, and we've all watched it happen, and I know I may be recapping some of this for you, Lily, but again, jump in. He's saying, look, I went to these places, and what happened is the coworkers are entertaining, talking to each other, talking about their day, talking about the things going on, and he's standing there like, what the heck, right? So as I started thinking about it, like I said, I had a show that I ran, and I brought this up back a long time ago for me anyway, and a lot of people, customer service is certainly a big deal, you know. One of the things, though, you got to understand, it really is becoming a lost art. So here's some ways that I want to talk about performance. First off, whatever field of business you practice in, right? Actually, that's not, no one wants to deal with somebody that's practicing business. They want to deal with professionals, right? And what defines a professional? A professional, you have to have brilliant product knowledge. You have to have tact. You have to be able to look in somebody in the eye. You have to be able to present your product, whatever the product may be, in a manner that it is professional without being offensive to the person purchasing it. Doesn't matter with it. And again, let's talk about the auto industry. Most people that are going to tune in and watch this are automotive industry. It doesn't matter if it's a $3,000 car, a $300 payment, a $30,000 car. None of that. You have to be able to present the product in a way that comes across professionally and doesn't discount anything that the consumer, the customer, is telling you. So like I said, in any field of business where you're actually conducting business and trading your services or your product in exchange for somebody else's money, they want to be dealing with a professional, right? As a professional, like I said, you have to have product knowledge in whatever you sell. Most people, think about this for a second, most people will sign up for the value of the person selling them the product if they trust that the person will back up what they say they will do. Right? If they trust you and they think that the salesperson will actually follow through with the things that they say they will do, the person will often, they'll choose to purchase that product. They may even pay more for something. And here's the problem. Many salespeople are scared to back up what they say they'll do. They're fearful, and they're maybe unprepared to do it because they're concerned about management. That's a scary deal. So if you're a manager watching, like I said before, I'm very fortunate to work for a really quality dealership, and we have a lot of leeway and latitude to be able to take care of the salesperson, the consumer, the customer. If a salesperson makes a promise on something, we allow them to follow through with it. And again, even that, I'm going to back up and say, well, within reason, right? If they said, yeah, I think this car comes with an extra key, or it comes with floor mats, or so on and so forth, we're going to allow them to back that up if that's something that they've said. But I do think that many salespeople are scared to back up what they say for fear of management, for fear of their job. And that, to me, that's kind of a sad deal. Keep that in mind. Real professionals, they back up what they say they'll do. If they did nothing else, if they could mess up on when you first meet somebody. I walked through the sales process the other day. When you first meet somebody and you give them that impression and you qualify for what their wants and needs are, you present the product to them. When you get to that product presentation, if you've done a good job establishing rapport and following through at the onset of what you were talking with the customer about, you can mess up some stuff on the presentation. You can be not perfect, and the customer can be forgiving of that if they trust you and they know that you'll follow through when you're selling, upon completion of the sale of the product. And so for me, here's one of the things. I looked this up earlier, dictionary.com. If you look up the word performance in the dictionary, and this is there's about 7 or 8 different definitions, but here's my favorite definition. My favorite definition is the execution or accomplishment of a feat. Performance is the execution or accomplishment of a feat. It's follow through. It's all about follow through. So just think about, again, thank you for everybody tuning in. Ashton, hey, haven't seen you in a while. Jesus, thanks for tuning in. I saw Lily pop through earlier. Nancy, thank you for everybody taking the time to listen to my rants and my opinions this evening. So back to what I was saying. Dictionary.com defines performance, and there, like I said, there's about 7 or 8 different definitions. The best one, though, the execution or accomplishment of a feat or an act or work, right? It actually says that. So if you say you're going to do something, execute on it. Be a professional. Think about this. Okay, the experience Lily had the other night when he went in and there were there were sales consultants in retail facilities and he was seeking help. What's the first thing that they said they were going to do? Not with him per se, but what's the first thing that they said they were going to do? When they were hired there, they said they would take care of the customer when the customer came in to work with them. Think about that for a second. When that person was first hired on, I would have to assume, regardless of what the store was, and I don't know what the store was, he didn't go on and bash them, and thank goodness for him. But I think that's really classy, by the way, Lily. But the thing is that he didn't go on and bash someone. The thing is, so he goes to a retail store. What's the first commitment they made? When they were hired there, they agreed to serve the customer. They agreed to greet the customer. They agreed to have an interaction with the customer, not with one another. But the thing is, because they're fearful of the customer, they're fearful of the follow-through, who's the easier person to have the conversation with? It's easier to have the conversation with the coworker. They know what to expect. They have a relationship. They have rapport with that person. Crazy, right? So the thing is, when we're talking about performance beating product, think about this. All things being equal, right? Who would you do business with? I've seen it come up a whole bunch of times, all kinds of different social media outlets that they say all things being equal, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. We've all heard that if we're in sales, right? You've probably heard it 100 times, 1,000 times, maybe, who knows, we'll exaggerate and say 1,000,000 times. But people do business with people that they trust, right? So think about this. I'm going to shift gears because I haven't eaten dinner yet this evening. So let's talk about steak, okay? Steak, right? When you think about this is the performance. This is the customer service. This is the atmosphere, the excellence. I am a huge fan of steak, okay? Yeah, see, I got some ha-has that are like, where's he going with steak? You can buy a steak and cook it at home, right? And that creates one experience. If you like steak, I do. I grill a lot. If you're on any of my other social outlets, Instagram, Facebook, anything, I share my grilling habits because I like it, right? You get one experience from that. When you leave home and you go out to a restaurant to eat, you can get that same steak. Do you pay more or less? Now, because I know there's like a 20-second leg on this, I'm going to answer the question for you. Normally, when you go out to eat, you're going to pay more for the steak, right? Why do you pay more for the steak? You pay more for the steak for the experience. You pay, and I'm not going to name any places. I'm not going to advertise for anybody or whatnot. But if you're going there and you walk in and there's country music playing and there's people at the bar and it's loud and there's peanuts on the floor and everybody's excited to be there and you hear people laughing and you get greeted with a terrible they do howdy y'all and it's actually a bad Southern accent because they're not really from the South anywhere. But you go in for that experience and you pay a certain amount for the steak, which is probably going to be more than if you were to just do it yourself at home, right? But you go in and it's exciting and you create that certain, Nancy's got it, woo-woo, right? But you go in and you pay more for the steak. Why? Because of the ambiance, the atmosphere, and you can expect, right? You're not going to burn the steak. You're not going to overcook it. Pretty much every time when you go to a restaurant like that, you're going to pay up, but you're going to get a quality of service. Right? Now think about this for a second. You can go to an even higher end place and get an even more advanced, like a filet mignon steak, right? And get it served by a guy in a tux It's the same steak. But the thing is, then we even title it. We're going to go do that for a special occasion, right? Why do we do it for a special occasion? Because we're looking for the performance. We're looking for the atmosphere. We're looking for the ambiance. We're looking for the whole package. It's the same steak every time, right? Whether you cook it yourself, you have somebody cook it for you, and you go to a mainstream restaurant, or you go to a high-end restaurant and you get the whole deal, right? And when you do that, that was a fantastic French accent, by the way, just like my Texas accent. When you do that, you will pay 2 or 3 times more for the steak. Why? Because it's a special occasion and it's the level of service that you get. That, and keep in mind, you haven't even got to the wine list, right? When you get to the wine list, then the checkbook, hey, the wine list really comes out. So it's not just automotive. You're going, and here's the deal. What level of performance do you expect the waiter in the tux to perform at? If you're going to pay that kind of money for a meal, and you're going to take a significant other, you're going to take a family out, what level of performance do you expect to be achieved, right? That food better be perfect, right? What happens if it's not? What happens? Now think about this. What if you get the same experience at the mainstream, or excuse me, at the high-end restaurant that you would expect to receive at the mainstream restaurant? You're still upset. Why? Because it's not up to that level of performance. It's not up to par, right? So when I'm talking about performance beating product, here's the deal. As a salesperson, and we're talking about automotive now, as a salesperson, are you following through with what you say you're going to do? First and foremost, and this is all the salespeople out there right now, right? If you're a salesperson, especially in automotive, but if you're a salesperson anywhere, what was the first commitment that you made for your follow-through? What was the first level of performance? You agreed when you were hired to wait on customers, be excellent, get some product knowledge, and learn what you needed to know to be successful in your chosen profession, in your chosen business. Keep this in mind too. Once, when people are coming in and you're serving them, what is the experience you're creating? And not just you, but the people around you. What's the experience the receptionist created when they walked in? What's the experience that your desk manager is creating, or your sales manager, or the other people around the automotive dealership? The experience that the service writer that they walked past because their overall experience in your automotive dealership is going to be the sum of all their experiences. It's not just you, right? So you got to help elevate and raise that level. I have a few notes. Here's one, and I like this, and I'm going to kind of close on this part of it for this evening when we're talking about performance beating product. This is for all you managers out there. Once you've quote unquote made it into management and leadership. As a manager, if you are in management and you are going into work, you have to be a level 10 because your performance is graded by everybody all the time. You have to operate and function at a level 10. Right? You can't be, you as the manager, as the leader, if you ever drop and perform at a level 8, you can't be a level 8 and still expect to hold your team accountable for level 10 performance. It doesn't work that way. Many of us think it does. We get really frustrated and we go, well, hey, what's going on? Why is this person's performance dropping? This ties back into the conversation that Lily shared the other night. Why are these retail salespeople not waiting on him in a retail sales environment? It's because that's the environment that's fostered there, right? That's the environment that is allowed by leadership. That's the environment that's allowed by management. So you have to think about that. If you're a manager, you can't drop to a level 8, because if you drop to a level 8, guess what? The best your people will ever perform at for you while you're at a level 8 is about a level 7. You can't expect to hold them accountable at a level 10. When it comes to, and think about this, you can't expect to hold them accountable. When I'm saying a level 10, I'm talking level 10 in energy, in enthusiasm, in excitement, in your product knowledge, in your training, in your example, leading from the front, getting out front and showing them when they say, man, I'm really struggling, I can't do this. Getting up off your tail and saying, okay, hey, listen, I understand, let me pick you up and let's go. We'll go do it together, right? That is to me as a manager, if as a manager or a leader, you're raising the bar, your people, they'll elevate themselves. People will perform to the expectation that you provide to them, right? So one of the first things you got to ask yourself for wherever you're at in the dealership, if your performance is suffering, your people's performance is suffering. If you're one of the sales consultants on the front line and your performance is suffering, what can you do to elevate yourself also? Whatever the position, here's the other thing. You always have to remain teachable. Passion, enthusiasm, talent, excitement, you can't teach those things. You can't do it, right? Passion and enthusiasm, those things, talent, that's something you can groom it. You can help foster that environment, but you can't teach that to somebody. You can fan the flames, right? But you can't teach it. You can teach skill. You can teach product knowledge, right? When somebody comes in, if you're teaching them a skill, you're teaching them product knowledge, that's going to provide them more confidence. They'll get more excited. They'll be more confident in being there. And with confidence comes enthusiasm, and that enthusiasm is what lights the fire in cells. I got to still grab my notes think about this. Here's my last thought. When someone's excited about something, they get passionate. Like I said before, you can't teach that. Passion is like a fire. Once it's burning, it's hard to contain, it catches on to others, and it spreads. That's why for me, customer performance, it starts at the top. It starts at the top, right? If people are excited about where they're at, they're fired up, they're learning, they're teachable, and they're spreading that passion's going to spread itself out through your business, through your dealership, through your facility, whatever place that you're at. That passion, that's what's going to catch fire, and that is what is going to improve performance at its core. And when that performance improves, guess what? All things being equal, who are people going to do business with, right? So you really want to make sure that you're leading yourself by example and your team by example. So for anybody that tuned in and caught this tonight, whether you're catching it live or catching it after the fact, thank you so much for spending the time. I'm on my 30-day challenge, day 14. I'm almost halfway through it. Tomorrow is the halfway point. And I think it's one of those things that I'm excited about to go through the challenges, just to show that consistency of continuing to go through it. It's actually been a lot of fun. For everybody who's taken the time to watch these videos and join me, I really, truly appreciate it. Make sure and check back tomorrow. Most of my videos are later in the evening here. That way I've gotten everything else for my day wrapped up, plus my wheels are turning. So thanks again for tuning in and joining me. Hope you all have a fantastic evening. Hope if you are in the auto business especially, hope you are teed up and ready to go for a fantastic weekend. Thanks. Have a good night, everybody.